On behalf of the RIMUTAKA Crossing 1915-1918 reenactment group, I'd like to welcome you all here. Quite simply, I saw these photos, over here, and this photo down here in 2007 at the Heritage Museum here in Featherston, and I thought I'd like to know a bit more about the history of these photos. I did some research and realised there was over 60,000 New Zealand soldiers trained at Featherston Camp during World War I and marched over to RIMUTAKA Hill. That relates to 58% that went to World War I, and unfortunately 10,000 didn't come back. So we believe it's a very poignant thing in our life to remember these guys, as the old RSA saying is, lest we forget. So with that in mind, we are going to reenact what they did. They started at Featherston Camp at 3 o'clock in the morning with a band playing, marched to Featherston. We will stop at Featherston, lay a wreath to honour these gentlemen. The band will disband and then we'll continue marching up the hill, and we should arrive there by 7 o'clock in the morning. We will have people like the old Patriotic Society will be up there doing the same sort of food, sandwiches, billy tea and fruit for breakfast. So anybody on the march looking forward to bacon eggs, it's not going to happen. We will then unveil a small reflection and remembrance site, and hopefully we'll have the correct dignitaries here to do that for us. We'll then march off at approximately 8:30 down to Kaitoki. We will stop, board buses, go to the start of Upper Hutt and march through Upper Hutt with the band, and then lay another wreath at the Upper Hutt Civic Centre. That way we've honoured these guys on both sides of the hill with a wreath at both of the memorials. From there we plan to go to Davisfield at Trentham, march in there, be formally farewelled, and then have an open day for the public.
I'm also speaking today on behalf of Wayne Guppy, Mayor of Upper Hutt, because Upper Hutt is the other district that was really affected by the march and played a great part in the march of these soldiers over the hill. We had Featherston on this side and Trentham Camp on the other. Now, that was a big camp for a small town. It had a huge impact on day-to-day life in Featherston, and you talk to anybody who was around or had grandparents around at the time, and they distinctly, they have very distinct memories of the impact that the camp had on Featherston. I think it's really fitting that as part of the World War I commemorations, we do something that remembers the Featherston camp and those 60,000 soldiers, all of whom would have walked through Featherston, and a good many of whom would have had recreational time at our Anzac Hall. So I say a big thanks to Tweet, because he is the inspiration behind this project, without a doubt. If it wasn't for him, it wouldn't be happening. He has rallied us all together, got the whips out, got his foot on our necks to make sure that we're doing the jobs that we have to do, and we all get given huge lists of jobs. But he is the inspiration behind it, and he is the one that is making it happen. So for Featherston, it is an enormous project. It is a key part of who we are, because that military history is integral to Featherston. So thank you to everybody that is involved, and we're looking forward to a really, really exciting day. And certainly our council, I should acknowledge Councillor Robertson here, are determined to do everything that we can to assist Tweet and the team in making this happen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Lieutenant Colonel Ben Pitts. I've come out from Linton Military Camp today as the New Zealand Army representative. Really pleased to sort of be here as to announce our support for the RIMUTAKA Crossing reenactment group. It's a particularly fitting activity, being a World War I centenary event, and we'll be able to support this through some ceremonial support for the both in here in Featherston at the top of the hill and over in Trentham as well. Secondly, with a group to support the actual march up the hill. And thirdly, with some activities with the open day in Trentham for the group that march over there. So it's a really good activity. It's really great for us to be involved in local initiatives like this one, and we're quite happy to support it. I think we'll have about 50 people involved in the activity, and we'll probably bus a fair few of them out from Linton Camp. So I think it's a great activity, and well done to Mr. Bird and his group for organising it, and we're looking forward to September when it's all on. Thank you very much. And Jim, I think you've got a few words.
Hi everyone. I was talking to Tweet at the Anzac Hall a couple of years ago, just happened to bump into him while we were both doing something there, and he told me about this, plans for doing this, and I thought, well, that's interesting. My grandfather was amongst those who marched over, and he said, well, that's interesting, Jim. And I said, well, I've actually, we've got his diary that he wrote throughout 1916. It doesn't actually cover walking over the hill. It starts when he got on board a troop ship in Wellington. And I'm just going to read a few excerpts of the diary, and just for the media, I'm happy to talk to you about this afterwards. But it starts off on the just a little bit about my grandfather, Vern Chapman. He was 26 when he went overseas. He didn't sign up immediately because his father died when he was very young, and he left school at 13 and was helping look after the younger members of his family. One of his brothers, Sid, went first. He went to Gallipoli and he never made it back. And Vern was the next to go, volunteered, and on the first diary entry is left Trentham and boarded Tahiti. Great send-off. Mother very brave and kept up wonderfully well. Seeing her second son go away. Huge crowds to see me away. God bless them all. Now the writing's very difficult, so I'll just read a few other ones I've copied out. So by February he was in Egypt, in Cairo, and talks about the various training in the desert, and talks about as they were starting to drop kit and starting to drop their personal effects to get ready to go to France, that he'd have to throw out some of his gear and have to pig it, which not look after himself as well as he might at home. They arrived in Marseille on April the 14th. Shortly afterwards, talks about starvation rations and bloody terrible army organisation, having to march up to 12 miles a day on half a pound of bread. May the 15th, arrived in trenches, enemy 400 metres away. By September the 10th, he was involved in the Somme, and on September the 12th he writes, moving off shortly for the trenches to take part in the big push. Very little German shelling, but our guns, and hundreds of them too, spoke all night long, making sleep well nigh impossible. The following day, they went out at midnight, digging trenches, and the diary says, digging trenches in no man's land, got lost coming home. So that must have been a bit scary. The following day, water very scarce. This is a hellhole, but I'm happy and have quiet faith all will go well with me. September the 20th, heavy shelling all day, Hun searching for battery hidden in our rear. And I'll just, on the September the 26th, and the 22nd, I will read this one in just a little bit. See, they're up. They've been skirmishing most of the day, backwards and forwards in no man's land. The Hun came up the sap, bombing. He forced his way a little. We forward, on Hun with the bayonet. Was hit, crawled back to trench, and was helped to a sheltered spot. Mentions a cobber that he found badly wounded. A Scottish officer dressed my wounds, and then he was taken to a field hospital. On the 24th, he said, wound not serious, although I've had a mighty narrow escape. He was actually shot there in the lung, and he was sent back to Britain. By the 30th of September, he was in Birmingham Hospital, And he actually lived with quite a serious wound for the rest of his life. The lung was attached to his, it's called an adhesion. His lung was attached to his rib bones. Operations weren't as sophisticated as in those days. And he eventually died in 1940 at 51 years old. And the reason I'm marching over the hill with Tweet and his merry men is that two generations of my family dropped what they were doing and answered the call in in World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. And I'm delighted that my brothers and I and my sister live in a world where we're not required to answer the same call. Men on the street aren't required to drop what they're doing and go overseas. So I'm delighted about that and looking forward to take part in the march.
Just to finish off, a couple of things I'd like to point out is that was the top of the RIMUTAKA Hill, 1915. And that's where we're going to stop for breakfast. These photos over here are an interesting collection, and I must talk about them. Alex Foster Foreman. They're not quite sure of his age when he went over to World War I, but he is the great uncle of Alex Foster Foreman, living in Marston now. He used to own Matacona Station. Alex has been and visited his uncle's gravesite in France, and he was a proud donator of the first $1,000 to this march. And I'd like to thank him for that. The other people I'd like to thank, sorry, I get emotional, is Trust House. They support us with a financial donation for our current media work. And I'd like to let you know we've now got a Give a Little page, and all we're after is $4 per soldier went on that march to make this reenactment work. Thank you.